Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Relevant Recruiter Show. Today, I'm joined by Matt Chambers. Super excited to have Matt on. I've been working with Matt for the last several months pretty closely and his team, talking about their software. Matt is the CEO at Loxo, the #1 recruiting CRM and worldwide leader in artificial intelligence recruitment automation software. Right now, Loxo helps 125,000 plus recruiters become 200 to 500% more efficient with their state-of-the-art suite of workflow products and data solutions for recruiting and sourcing, all in one beautiful, easy-to-use platform. Matt, thank you for hanging with me today on the Relevant Recruiter Show.
Yeah, thanks so much. What an intro, Donnie, and I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be part of your community here.
Awesome, man. Before we get started into the good meat and potatoes, how are things in Denver, Colorado?
Awesome. Yeah, they're growing like crazy. I'm sure like you out in SF. But yeah, snowed last night, so had to get up and shovel this morning. But yeah, going great out in Denver.
Really snowed last night? Huh? That's not. It's about 75 degrees here in California. So
yeah, I was driving around. All the branches. I mean, it's pretty heavy snow, heavy wet spring snow, but all the branches are broke across cars and in the road. But yeah.
Wow. So you guys got a good little dumping last night.
Yep. Got a great.
Right on. Very cool. Very cool. And you, family out there, you have wife and son, you said, correct?
Yep. Married, have a son. He keeps me super busy when I'm not working on Loxo. And yeah, he's love of our life, almost 2. So yeah.
Nice. Almost 2. I've got a 2-year-old too. They're fun, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, have you started putting yours in attempting to get him in school yet?
Our 4 are already, we have 4 older ones that are all back to school. Just kind of happened this past week, actually, for some of them. And then our youngest one, she's still hanging with mom throughout the day. So, yep, we'll be on that. So let's dive into the good stuff, man. I know we've got a fun story to tell. Matt, I mean, just give us a little background on your career and your journey, kind of what happened after you got done with college.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually can't tell you how many times I've been asked this question on demos. And I usually, preface it and I always give the short version. So I appreciate today really diving in. I'm going to give you the long version today. So I'll kind of go through it. How the heck, did we end up building recruiting software? So, just start on a personal level. I'm a small town guy. I come from very humble beginnings. I grew up on a dirt road, actually on top of Conifer Mountain, Colorado.
Wow.
So I'm a rare native. These are, Colorado natives are the real purple squirrels. These days, it's pretty hard to find a native here. But I fortunate to grow up with 2 hardworking parents. My mother was a sign language interpreter, social worker. So she ran a day camp for deaf and blind kids and severely handicapped kids and taught me a ton about empathy and compassion and helping others. And I think my mom actually influenced me quite a bit, traits that I'm pretty far in the spectrum of EQ. And in fact, co-founder Ilya always says I have the 6th sense. So I'm very in tuned into things that people don't necessarily see or come to fruition. So on the other side, my dad was the hardest working person I've ever come across to this day. He was a custom home builder. Everyone says their parents work hard, but my dad got up, before it was the sun rose, got home before it was, after it set, worked on the weekends. It was rough, but super hardworking. But he gave me the values of hard work, doing things with integrity and character when no one's looking. And he was like a world-class craftsmanship. So it really taught me to appreciate details, right? And like everything. So yeah, that was my kind of upbringing. But, going into college, I went out east and I went to UNH. I was trying to juggle business school, trying to juggle, fun social life. I played D1 soccer there. And I really, I struggled really bad the first couple semesters. I was used to kind of just cooking by high school. I'm sure, everyone did.
Yep.
And after a couple embarrassing semesters, I decided to buckle down. And I put myself around others that were getting straight A's. I'm like, what's their sauce to get a straight A's? So I just realized college is all about, learning how to be successful. And that's another lesson. Thank God. All you really have to do is if you want to master something, you just have to put enough investment and time, and it's really just time, right?
Yep.
And so pretty soon they weren't any more intelligent than I was. They just worked hard. So it sounds simple, but that's what I did. And then I learned how to I fell in love with being a tenacious learner from then on out. I developed a good growth mindset, and I finished with straight A's. But that was a great learning, I think. So now as we kind of start to get, Loxo is, like, it's really important. Why I became passionate about this story is, besides your family and your health, your
Mm-hmm.
career path is the next most stressful thing, right? And so in
Right.
college, you're at this stage where you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? And so I did that. I went to study abroad in Australia. I finally had a chance to breathe for once. And I remember I did some soul searching, try to figure out what I want to do. And before I knew it, I didn't even think about it, but I was writing a business plan, like a traditional 300-page business plan. And, from that point forward, I was just one foot in front of the other. Started learning about startups, reading every business book I could get my hand on. But really what happened is that helped me form the habits, every daily habit that are, how and why everything's kind of come together since.
Right.
Um, so that, yeah, then what happened, I graduated. I bought a house as a 23-year-old because I'd been working since I was 14. I had all my buddies move in, and I tried to figure out how am I going to create a company. So I don't want to raise venture, obviously. So I took a $50,000 home equity loan on my house. And I'm like, I took it out, plowing forward on this business plan, and I chickened out. And thank God I did, because I realized I had no clue what I was doing. If I failed, not only am I going to embarrass myself, but I'd lose my house, right?
Right.
So I realized there's a lot of value in learning from others. And so I tried to find the best business, world-class business executives I could, entrepreneurs to learn from. I got in a company, went to 3 different companies, and I started to learn SaaS. And at the time, SaaS was that was the early,
Right.
formation of SaaS. I didn't even know what it was. I went through a few different companies with them, and over 7 years, essentially got my PhD in high growth startups and SaaS. But every time I kept pushing myself to learn as much as I possibly could, because I knew at some point, inevitably, this is going to happen. So, and that's where it all changed. So I've been grinding for 7 years, working way too hard, 12, 14-hour days. And I got to a point where I just realized it was time to do something. But I still felt, I don't know about you or if you've always felt like this, but I always felt inadequate about, you have this perceived self of where you think you should be,
Right. Yep.
your actual. So you feel inadequate. And a lot of people are opposite. They have the Dunning-Kruger effect. Those, in my experience, tend to be the ones that crash and burn. But I unfortunately wasn't one of those. I have the imposter syndrome opposite. But no matter how far you go, there's always more to learn.
Yep.
But that pushes me, and it's helped. But what happened was the spark that lit this is I sat down with a Techstars mentor, and he was actually a couple years younger than me. And I asked him for his advice, and he said, if you're going to start your own company, the best day to do that is yesterday. The next best day is today. You're already too late. So right. I'm like, just get the courage, rip the Band-Aid off. So I did that. I just needed the idea. And at the time I was obsessed with reading about machine learning, kind of all web tech. And I realized the future of every industry would be based around machines that could learn on their own, that helped humans learn a lot faster, right? And focus on higher value activities.
Right.
So, but at the same time, I had some recruiters reach out and started talking to me about some roles. And just inquisitively, I'm like, since I was in the software space, I said, what software do you use? And they showed me, the legacy ATSs at the time. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. That's the software that you use, and that's the best of the market. So I realized, oh my God, we can create the Apple of recruiting software, just be the world's most gorgeous, simple, easy to use, and then infuse some of these ideas. So I started researching a ton of, in the space like I always do, and it just smacked me. So now a lot of people always also ask, have you ever recruited, right? And and a lot of people talk about this, like your product's not built by a recruiter. So as a first principle thinker, in the whole imposter syndrome, I have to know how to solve a problem or I can't do it. So I have to do it myself. So the first 18 months, I put my butt in a chair. I felt like I was back in college again. I had no clue what I was doing. I left my company, and I somehow convinced one of our former head of TA to give me a search fee, right? So I'm like, all right, now I got to figure out how to recruit. I'm running out of money. And I realized I'm not learning quick enough. So I partnered with 5 search firms here in Denver, and I started, so sourcing for them, doing split fees across different sectors, and I learned a lot. I was also doing like customer discovery, like what software to use, what's your workflow,
Right.
And it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal, super embarrassing. I think I made $6,000 the first year. Um, I'm paying I'm paying contractors to start building this MVP of Loxo. I almost went bankrupt. I mean, every single time I almost went bankrupt, somehow I made a placement, right? But
Right.
as a lot of listeners probably that are launching their own business or their own recruiting agency, that's the business, right? The agency world.
Yep.
You hunt and you sink or swim. But that's what I did, and I kept coming up with a way. It really pushed me to learn quick, make placements, and thank God I did all that, because I actually became pretty decent at recruiting. And if I had never done all of that, there's no way I would have seen the value in my co-founder Ilya. I would have never been able to identify that, the potential he had. And once I found him, everything changed. And that's how we've gotten here. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. That's funny. I have a very similar story of getting into the industry myself, of like just talking to a recruiter and then seeing an opportunity. I had no idea that that's where you guys came up with. And I was looking at your profile before, looking at, did you come from another software company? Did you come from a big biller? And so that's awesome that you came out with an outside, lens, to start the company. So when did you guys, when was Loxo's first year?
Yeah. I founded the company officially in 2012.
Okay.
And if you want, I could transition and show kind of like an overview of now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, so sometimes they'll ask about like, tell me a bit about the story. It's just fascinating. I think that people can understand how can you understand recruiting software, right? But the other part is, where are we at and what the heck is Loxo? We call it a talent intelligence platform. So maybe I'll just show you.
Yep.
If I can share the screen here.
Is it going to allow you to share? Let me know if it doesn't give you the permission to.
Disabled.
It's disabled. All right, let me see if I can. Hold on. Give me a sec. I'm going to make you the host here. So let's see what that does.
Uh-oh.
All right. Screen should be yours now.
All right. Hopefully you can see the talent intelligence platform there. All right.
Yep.
All right. So if you don't mind, I think this would be really helpful. We've learned share this a bit about when we founded it and everything, but
Perfect.
What we built was a talent intelligence platform, right? And I think even we look back at some of our original mock-ups and wireframes and our original website, 2014-ish, we said talent intelligence platform, and no one knew what that was. The market didn't, so we kind of tweaked it, but now it's back. But I'll kind of unpack what that is.
Right.
But our goal, our vision is we don't want to create an ATS. We don't want to create another option. We want to be the world's leading platform and world's leading partner for the very best recruitment organizations. What makes us different besides the vision, though, is our team, right? So I don't say that to brag. It's a huge differentiator. You're not going to see this at the legacy ATSs. You won't.
Right.
Literally top 1%. Facebook, Google would have been proud to have the engineering product machine learning team that we do. And it's remarkable. It's unbelievable what they do. So it's a very big difference. We're a high-tech company. We're aiming big on this. The reason why we're able to attract that talent is, in ATS, a legacy ATS, it was designed when the internet first popped up to help people manage an influx of job board applicants, right? Post and pray.
Right.
Everyone watching us doesn't do that, but that's
right.
the system we use. So then what happens is a recruiting CRM now is becoming more popular, and sophisticated companies bolt that on, right? And you have smart people pipelining, building talent pools, and they're a lot more, your time to hire, time to fill is way faster, but it has the same fatal flaw. All the data resides outside of it. So what they do is every recruiter lives in LinkedIn, or some are going to pay for sourcing tools that are really expensive. And then you have to go export, use wonky workflows, right? Try to get it into a real world-class recruiting CRM. There has to be a better way. So that's why we built Loxo. And this is another learning I had. If I knew that it would take a decade almost to build, I don't think we would have made it.
Right.
You could have $250 million in venture capital. You and I could walk into Silicon Valley. You could share everything. You could raise $250 million and it takes you 7 years to build this minimum. So that's a lesson I learned, but this will help you understand how broad this sucker is. So what a talent intelligence platform is, it is an all-in-one. There's nothing like this in the market. And there's best in breed companies. That's kind of the path people are going. People told me I was crazy. They said, Matt, Loxo's trying to do too much. And we said, it's fine. Just, this is our vision. This is what we want to put out into the world. And we really believe in it. It's a better workflow. It's a better way to do it. So the very far left, you have sourcing data. We have our own data. So you have the original aggregators like Intello, TalentBin. Now you have Seek Out and HireTool, like great companies, phenomenal. It's just data. Data is a commodity. Everyone has access to same data.
Right.
We have over 100 data sources. A lot of people don't even know how good our data is. We have the same data. We just released a brand new version. And then the next component of that is contact info. So recruiters, when I learned this too, yeah, you can find people, but how do you get in touch with them, right? Personal emails, everything, personal mobile. So we went all in on that. We built our own, and it was horrible. First few years, it was brutal. It took 48 hours to verify. It was a mess, right?
Right.
But we stuck with it. And now we have a whole team on each one of these. So we have personal phones and emails. It's phenomenal. We'd love for people to test it on anything out there. We have a whole machine learning team on it. We'll have the best data in the market. And now we're gonna, we'll start adding more work email. That's very easy to predict and verify. That's where it stops, the line. So a sourcing tool, despite whatever people try to help share, it can never be a platform. It can never be a recruiting CRM. You have a lot of features and functionality that take 7 years to build. So I think the marketplace is very confused right now on what it is. And here's why. There's really only applicant tracking systems. The only true, in my personal opinion, the only true enterprise grade recruiting CRM is Avature. Great company, unbelievably robust. It's out of touch for most people, especially most of this audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's brutal. It takes a year to configure, right? That's the only one. What happens is that's in Loxo, and we have a different version for different kind of segments. So you have like agency version, a retained search version, an RPO version, in-house version. They're different.
Right.
Then what happens is and you preach and coach this, is a lot of, there's another thing we got laughed at. We built drip email campaigns, and recruiters told us, hey, we're very high touch, we're personal. But the most sophisticated search firms were starting to pay for sales loft and outreach, right?
Right.
Really expensive. It's not natively built, doesn't integrate. You have to go enrich data. So what happened is we went all in on it. We got laughed at again, and we built a whole product that took a few years. But now you're seeing entire companies build just that pillar, raising a couple, $100 million. You don't need, our partners don't need to do that.
Right.
And it's purpose built for high-end recruiting. And then the final piece is, of course, that what we started with is the ATS, right? You have to have the core, but that's really crazy because most ATSs on the market, they're usually built for in-house. And all you have is Bullhorn, right? And Bullhorn acquires everyone, or you have a few different options out there in the marketplace, all great companies, but they were built and designed to be an ATS 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And that's it, right? You can't change a house and who you are once you build the foundation and infrastructure. You have to tear it down. Why do they not do that and start from scratch? It takes a decade and a couple $100 million, right? You can't.
Yep.
So that's the end-to-end thing. That's what we built. And then you look at the whole layer. AI is a massive buzzword. I think everyone rolls their eyes, and they should. It's a marketing thing for companies to raise cash and venture. But it's coming, and a lot of these solutions that are best in breed, it's never going to work. You don't just log in and pull some, what does my co-founder Elliot say, that calls people a script kiddie? You could just go copy some code and paste it and hope these algorithms work. It's not going to work. Google's failed at this, LinkedIn. It's just like anything. You have to iterate, you have to build your own. So we're all in on it. I was passionate about this in 2012. It's not just we're not trying to raise money. It's to solve the problem. So what we did is we've been building it forever, but our goal is to help, instead of recruiters poking around on LinkedIn profiles all day long, that's not adding value. Machines are really good at information retrieval, which is what machine learning does. So it's here, it's coming. And in the next few years, people are going to start to see, true deep learning solutions that help not tell you who to hire, but just help generate a short list of candidates a lot faster. That gives you another, here's another short list to look at in addition to your own sourcing efforts.
Got it.
So I know that's a mouthful, but what the last few things about Loxo 2, people ask this, is nobody changes their system, right? It's a pain in the butt. Data migration is a pain, change management. This runs your whole business. It's brutal. The data migration itself is brutal, but what happens is 5 years into Loxo, smashing our head against the wall, having no money, no nothing, no employees, being embarrassed. People are like, Loxo's, go with these companies. We just, we persisted. We believed in ourselves, and we had 50 customers, 50 into 5 years. And now we've exploded. We have 4,000 globally. We just opened an office over in Europe. We just landed a huge thing in Latin America. So we have APAC customers. Japan's a big market, Australia. So things are changing pretty quick. And our customers are happy, and we're kind of just getting started. So these are just, this is just some examples, but it's not random, right?
Yep.
We want to have 70% or more of market share of recruiting agencies and executive search, RPO. But it's some of the best, top exec search firms, people that are winning. It's the top end of the market, the elite sourcing recruiting organizations, and even some in-house that have executive search teams or sourcing teams that don't want to use their clunky old school systems, are using our sourcing and our recruiting CRM to plug into their ATS.
Amazing.
But yeah, in the last few things, the data is key. Data quality is everything. So it's not an afterthought to us. Kind of going back to who we are, and brick by brick, we don't care how long it takes. Every single brick that we build, we want to make it a 10 out of 10. And over time that compounds. But data is really important. The quality of data, how you ethically acquire it, how you update it, how you enrich it. All of that stuff is super important. So we've gone all in on it. We have entire teams now finally that we can take responsibility of all of this. And it's getting better really, really fast. Contact info is great. We have over 100 data sources, including LinkedIn. So people are replacing their LinkedIn recruiter and instead, right. That's massive, right?
Yep.
And again, the AI piece, I don't even like to talk about that or the buzzword, because people it doesn't matter. But the point is, your legacy ATS or a legacy system, how quick things are evolving and how quickly it's getting here. What you see now on the market is going to be very different 6 months, a year from now, 2 years from now.
Oh yeah.
Just like when we always talk about the fact that we used to randomly stick our hand up on a corner and pray to God that some taxi would run across us is bonkers. And now we're you click your phone, you wait until it dings, you run outside. The same thing is going to happen with literally we had 20 recruiters, and all we did was just get a rec, run around like crazy with our chickens with their heads cut off, and pray to God we'll find somebody, or say, who do you know? There's going to be a lot more strategic, intelligent company, and the best search firms and recruiting agencies will leverage tech. They'll look more like a tech company. And there's even going to be really high value roles where, it forces recruiters to say, maybe we'll have a strategic marketing resource that pre-builds cadences and optimizes those and gets a better candidate experience, better client experience. So all of this stuff is elevating the profession of recruitment. Is going to be unbelievable. It's not going to automate recruiters. It's going to be very strategic, high value, front of the table, type of stuff. But
Yep.
And then you can focus on more strategic stuff, obviously, top of mind things that are crushing every company right now: diversity, inclusion, and just building better, stronger teams with better talent, right? But Yeah. So I know that that's a lot, but between that kind of the story walkthrough and the high level, I hopefully that I'm just curious what you think, because I mean, you and I have had a conversation. You know Loxo, you're starting to get to know it pretty well, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, I mean, I get a lot of the feedback from the people I refer to you guys and my clients that use it, and everybody's usually, for the most part, just blown away by what you guys encompass into one tool, right? And that's what I always tell people: like, hey, look, you can eliminate an email platform software, you can eliminate, potentially LinkedIn Recruiter, you can eliminate a traditional, or like a cold email stuff, plus all the data enrichment tools and stuff. So I think with one source under the hood, and from where I sit on the marketing side, I think it's a no-brainer. And I think one of the big points you bring up again is that one tool, because I know a lot of people, not very many recruiters, I don't want to stereotype, but like not tech savvy, right? Every time you learn a tool, I was actually talking to a client right before this, and said every time a new update comes out for a software, I panic because I don't want to learn it. And I think that that's one thing, that having one tool in one place, is really amazing, from where I've seen it and just the feedback I'm getting. And for those of you that are living, or excuse me, watching with us live, I've got a question come in. Feel free to ask Matt some questions as we kind of dive in here, and give us a little like and love if you're enjoying this presentation. I actually have a question that came in, Matt, from Lou. He said, you have my attention. So compared to, say, Zoom info, what do you say your accuracy of data is compared to something like that?
yeah,
He said seamless AI isn't good enough. So, that's where he's kind of going.
yeah, great question. Um, Zoom info, again, these are all my opinions, of course. I think it's the very best data quality company in the marketplace, but a massive caveat for work contact info. So if you have a work email or a direct dial professional, let's get them at work, go with Zoom info. It costs a lot of money. It's a premium, but it's premium data.
Right.
So that's what I'd say. For personal contact info, I know think they're trying to, the way you can acquire ethically and get access to and update personal contact info is brutal. Um, yeah, our contact info is way better than Zoom info is for personal, way better.
Got it. Got it. That's a good distinction between the two. And you brought up a good point there that I just want to, you mentioned the word ethically. And I know that there's a lot of companies out there that are just getting data anywhere and everywhere and buying things underground. I mean, without giving away secrets and stuff. I mean, how do you guys ensure that you guys are doing this the right way?
Yeah, that's the hardest part. So when we show our company all hands kind of meeting and vision and deck and what we're doing and how these pieces come together is, the way the internet works early on is you go from kind of, web 1.0. Well, even before that, you have desktop software that manages people's workflow, right? And then the cloud popped up, SaaS.
Right.
Hey, instead of buying some clunky software and storing it in your closet and trying to like upgrade it once every 20 years, let's update it every day on the cloud. And search firms recruiting like, we're not putting our data on the cloud. That's wild.
Right.
Where does it go? What happens if it goes down? So, it went to web 1.0, and then web 2.0 is let's take these old legacy systems that are ugly and hard to use and clunky and beautify them, make them gorgeous and Apple-esque, right? That's where most of them what we did is we said, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to where 20 years from now, we're going to web 3.0 with the semantic web and matching it more intelligent with the data. So yeah, that's the path that we did. I don't know if that, that kind of went roundabout, but.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And Lou, just let me know if that answered your question, or if you have any follow-up questions. And like I said, if anybody else has any, let us know. We would happily dive into anything that you have there. What is it, like earlier on, you talked about that whole migrate, the data migration. Hey, I'm going from one applicant tracking system to the next, and just talking with people, I know that that's that's a painful process. I mean, how do you guys as a company try to make that, as seamless as possible? I mean, obviously there's work to be done. It's not avoidable, but what are you guys doing to kind of help that?
Yeah, that's brutal too. So I thank you very much again for allowing me to kind of, I don't enjoy like always talking about myself, right? I appreciate getting to tell our story and all this, but my co-founder and our team are really the people that have built this. And I'm just so fortunate. I'm inspired every day working with them. But Ilya, my co-founder, I mean, he's that guy. There's a reason we're here. I mean, him and I manually, as we were trying to build this machine learning algorithm to parse resumes at first, I mean, we would spend our weekends, our resume would come in, he'd build this thing, we'd tag it, right?
Right.
Like, what the heck are we doing? You can go pay a company to do this. And then, but he manually migrated the first 500 plus migrations, and it was brutal. I mean, world-class engineer doing this. So we learned a lot. We don't outsource it like a lot of companies. A lot of companies charge you an arm and a leg. It's brutal. It's expensive. We earn the relationship. We guarantee it now. It goes it really well. But yeah, it's not as scary as it used to be back in the day, because we guarantee it. But it's, depends on how complex it is. It can be, still a month-long type of thing. Pretty hairy.
Yep.
Not,
Well, I really can hear how you guys, on all levels of the company, it's really admirable that you guys, quality is clear based off of this conversation. Like that's the leader, like when it comes to people and how you treat people and your clients, and forget about the clients versus the employees internally. I can tell, especially working with Jessica, I know how happy she is, but the way you're treating your clients, but just also how you guys are looking at this software is trying to make it literally, the best of the game, first class. And that's obvious and that's apparent. So kudos to you on that. Question came in. Does Loxo offer a LinkedIn connection request in the outreach sequence? I think I know the answer to that, but
yeah, this came up twice on meetings I already had today. There with our outreach, I could reshare my screen. I don't know if I should.
Yep.
Okay, so I can find. I wasn't going to go into like a full demo just because it's kind of really tricky and we have different versions, but everybody always wants to kind of check this out. 1 second.
I got another data question too when we're ready.
All right, we still have some time.
What's up, Nick? Oh yeah, we got plenty of time. So.
All right. So I'll pull this up, share my screen. All right, can you see the Loxo there?
Yep.
Okay, so the outreach piece, the only way to get something like this today would be you'd have to go pay for a third-party system, right? Well, you don't do. And instead of sending a one-off transactional email, like, recruiters were also a little nervous to send bulk emails before because the systems didn't really work. You couldn't personalize them. Things have changed. But what we have is we have templates for the BD side. So not just for sending candidate follow-ups, but going to get new clients. And
right.
And how you do those are different. You have different cadences and playbooks, but the candidate outreach is different, right? So we have some of that, but you can even build your own. And what you can do is, you can set up your intro email. You can use custom personalization stuff. You can embed forms. But what you would do is you would send that first email. If somebody responds to it, it stops, right? Normally they won't. So instead of you worrying about it, it's like you have a world-class assistant that follows up with every single person exactly when you tell it to. So you can do like and we have a multimodal, like emails, text messages, phone calls, LinkedIn, which I know we're going to, and then the automated voicemails. But even our most skeptical, very high-end, world-class retained search firms with 50 consultants, they're like, we probably won't use that. We check in, like, oh my God, it's mind-blowing. I don't know how we ever did it. Everyone loves it. And people that are still doing manual follow-up, it's a worse candidate experience. You're wasting your time.
Yep.
Get on it with whatever solution you go get. We could recommend 100 other options that are not in Loxo. But the LinkedIn thing, to circle all back, in a perfect world, LinkedIn would have an open API and you could do whatever you need to. They don't. So with the LinkedIn, if you do one of these options, what it does is it just queues up like you have 10 tasks today, and so if they haven't responded yet, you just click on that person's LinkedIn profile, paste in your text right here, and it takes 2 seconds. But unfortunately, it's not programmatically possible because of LinkedIn declined an open API request.
Got it. So there's some integration, but not full necessarily yet.
Yep.
Got it. Cool. And that's cool. I don't know if we, talked about, but I just, as people are watching, you can kind of see the stages that he laid out there with, email, text, voicemail, and I think, and especially as we continue to move forward, my 2 cents, doesn't matter if it's clients or candidates, we need to be on multiple platforms because people are just inundated with messages. Being in one spot's just not enough. And I think that's one of the cool things you guys have been able to sequence out with that is, multiple different touch points. I think that's huge. One question came in from my buddy Nick, says data platforms come and go. How is Loxo poised to be reliable, scalable ATS CRM platform for many years to come in the future? Thank you for your time today, Donnie and Matt.
Yeah. And that reminds me, I kind of lost track of that last question. So data is everything. Let me share my screen again.
Yep.
So, these questions are awesome. And it keeps coming up. People ask the same thing over and over. There it is. So how do we get our data, right? That's really ultimately what it boils down to, and how can we trust this? So I remember whiteboarding, the very first challenge we had is like, how do we get the data, right? So we went all in this. We really believed in it. It took us forever. We have 3 ways. One, publicly available data. So as an example, and I'm probably giving up a lot here, but I think it's so hard to do. We're worried about this stuff less and less over time. But if data is publicly available and you can go get that through search engines or other avenues, you can. And once you have that, we built up a massive index over time. Great. Other ways are we spend a lot of money at this point. I don't even want to, tens of millions of dollars acquiring premium data sets. So we rely heavily on premium data partners. We also use API partners. So we have this whole model that we built over time in many different layers of the onion. And we pull down a giant funnel, we clean it, structure it, and put it into one Loxo profile. Right. So there's nothing, Loxo owns the data. We're getting it through our legal counsel. We have unbelievable legal counsel. There's no rules that say you can't do this. So, and I have my entire family livelihood, our employees, our stakeholders. So we care deeply about this, but we feel very confident it's fine.
Yep.
We're GDPR compliant. We're CCCPA compliant. I think Virginia just did a law. We have a whole module. We can't publicly announce it, but we're really close. Went through almost a year-long SOC 2 audit that we should be getting any day. So I kind of shared some of that. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're doing everything you possibly can do on the planet, and we protect our customers, ourselves, and everybody. So we feel really good about it.
How do you guys update the data ongoing? So say, John Smith is employed at Loxo, and, now he's moving to LinkedIn. How often is your data being kind of replenished and refreshed, so to speak?
Yeah, great question. So that honestly is probably, acquiring the data is one thing. Figuring out how to deal with it and wrangle it and structure it and keep your systems. Yeah. Refreshing is huge, and that ultimately is where we feel that it all goes back to your team, right? When you talk to people and clients, it's just people. When in this day and age, yes, you could pick a dozen ATSs. 5 years ago, an ATS didn't matter. Technology does matter. If you pick a technology partner to be as successful as possible, if it were me, I would go find the best technologists on the planet. And so our engineers, we have entire team members now focused on that. Really, really smart, world-class people. Their whole job is to refresh each of all these different data sets we have as near real time as possible. And again, it's taken years and years to get this stuff together, but we're really, really close with, I think we'll have a massive, massive, massive competitive advantage in how we do that.
Yep. Awesome. Scott, hopefully that answered your question. I didn't even see your question when I asked the same question. So thank you for chiming in there, Scott. Kelly just gave some feedback. I'm a Loxo customer and love the Loxo source and Loxo outreach. I chose the system. She's hoping that LinkedIn will open up that API so she can send her connection request through there. Who owns it's coming back from Lou. Who owns the data I've required? Should I use Loxo for 8 months and say cancel? Who owns the data?
Yeah, I even connected with our council the other day because we have a huge new customer partner over in the EU. And if you think people in the US are bananas about compliance and data integrity, is like, now that we've moved over to the EU, it's nuts. But our data, just like sales, you have two things. Salesforce is a CRM, and then they have a data.com product, right? Loxo has our platform, and you migrate your data from your existing database, or we can help you upload it. That's your data. Nobody touches it. It's unstructured, care less. All of the data that we have is even on different servers, the biggest machines Amazon has. But when you if and when Loxo doesn't work out, you want to leave, we believe in data portability so much, go ahead and press a button as a super admin and you know, take it. If you want to move from Loxo, you can hit export and you can take all of your data. So everything. How we do it, we finally figured it out, is we just build in credits and you paid for those. So if we give you contact info and credits for that, then that's yours. But obviously we don't want people to sign up with one user, which has happened, and we've had to change our rules. People sign with one user, they try to hammer our data of 600 million people and export data, right? And that's not your data. That's if you sign up with LinkedIn, you can't scrape LinkedIn and get the data, right?
Yeah.
So it's tricky, but yeah, it's people, you can take your data, it's your data.
Yep. Got it. Hopefully that clears that up. Gosh, I was gonna ask you a follow-up to that. Yeah, well, actually, I was going to say, I know that, a couple of weeks ago, I had somebody on the show here, and we were talking about just how really ineffective LinkedIn Recruiter has become. And it's been, common challenge I've heard for really a lot over the last year, but especially over the last couple of months, just lack of response to emails, things like that. The contract's always changing. It's expensive. I mean, what would you say to somebody that's considering, Loxo as a alternative or even addition to LinkedIn Recruiter? I mean, how do you guys stack up?
Yeah. So this never my wildest dreams ever. We knew we'd build a great product. We knew we'd build a great company. I would never think that I could even put that out of my mouth, right? That we could be a replacement or alternative to LinkedIn. But what happened is we didn't say it, our customers did. So we built our first version of Loxo Source. We put it out in the world and said, tell us what you think, good, bad, and ugly. It's not perfect like anything, nothing ever will be, but it was the first version, which was probably almost a year ago now, was we got 950 customer responses back. And the huge themes we heard were, I am not renewing my LinkedIn recruiter seats when they're up. You still get LinkedIn, you still get access to everybody, but really all you're doing is paying for InMails. You don't get your data. It's not built for that. It's not built for world class. It's a professional network. So of course, LinkedIn's the biggest, company on the planet, but it's not the only thing on town now. There's better options. Again, data is a commodity, but how you can accelerate, it's all about ease of use, less data entry, like time. You can do things a lot faster. You get a lot more done. You're way more successful. But yeah, that's really the approach that we took.
Got it. Love it. So can you text or email personalized videos as part of the workflow?
Yeah. Yep. SMS text is a huge part of what we did. So you don't have to go get a bolt-on SMS text solution. I know a couple of years ago, that was mind-blowing to people. You have Text Recruit that was acquired by iSIMS, right? That was their whole product. And you have some other ones. I mean, texting is table stakes, especially it depends on even high end. It depends on where you use it and use cases in your cadence.
Right.
You don't want a cold text. I mean, you could. I don't think anyone recommends a cold text. Anyone ever for BD or for a C-level. But there's really appropriate times, especially once you're in process with interviews. Candidates love it. We eat our own dog food. Texting, we get some of our world-class engineers. They won't respond to the first email, but man, they'll smash the text.
Oh yeah.
And that's how we've hired people. So yeah, we have that video. Yes, that is without a doubt going to be a key part of it. But today we don't have our own kind of video module. People could use whatever solution they want. You just put the link in the text or the email and you could do it. But we don't have our own video product yet.
Right. Got it. And Scott asked, what would you recommend just keeping LinkedIn Sales Navigator? I personally would recommend having some sort of LinkedIn premium, just so you have the ability to end mails. So you have the ability to do, I think, mainly advanced searches. So Sales Navigator, in my opinion, creates enough of a cheap option to keep some of the main capabilities that you'd want to have on LinkedIn to be able to, support on both the business development and candidate sourcing side. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, Matt, but
yeah, and I hate to. It's even hard to say that. I don't like to get involved and tell people what to drop. I just like to say, here's what we can replace and here's what. But the smart people are like, I'm not renewing for that. There's no way. And everyone does drop down to Sales Navigator. It's great. Yeah, you have great filters. That seems like it. Recruiter Lite. and some people have the free version, but it sounds like you can buy some in-mail bulks packages too, which I didn't know until this week. So yeah, there's no reason why people should be spending a lot of money, yeah, at all, in I think most people's opinion.
Right. Really good. Excellent stuff. I'm going to ask for questions one more time here as we kind of wrap this thing up here. Matt, what would you say, like, what are you guys most excited about moving forward with the software right now? Like, what's coming? I know you probably don't want to reveal any big secrets or anything like that, but what are you fired up about?
Yeah, awesome question. I was fortunate to have all hands today, and we'll be sharing a bit about this, but we grew too fast. We grew too fast last year. We grew 50% revenue Q4. We should have hired in December, and nobody hires in Christmas time, right? December.
Right.
We didn't. We got a little behind, and we had a team member that left, got an offer for like 3x. Unbelievable. We're really happy for that. But it really pushed us in a bind, as I'm sure our customers felt. We feel horrible about that. So some of you, our customers, we apologize, and we never want to do that to our team members. But it forced us to figure, one, solve this problem now, but two, eat our own dog food. So we grew. We're going to write a whole thing about this, how we did it. We grew our team 48% in headcount in less than 30 days without a single recruiter, not one recruiter. And so this morning on our company all hands, I mean, just looking at all these new people and faces across the world, we're sharing what's coming up, and we're sharing our roadmap. And it's funny because we're about to roll out a brand new massive upgrade. So we talk about like people that were in Loxo 2016, 17, 18, 19. And they say, I use Loxo. It's entirely different. It's like 3 versions from then.
Right.
We've moved so fast. So we're about to release a brand new, it's not going to change stuff. It's just going to be gorgeous and even better. But on top of that, the team's already working on another one in parallel. So it's just like, we're relentless. How do you perfect everything? And again, if somebody wants to start from scratch, they have 7 years. So the stuff we're excited about is that we're about to have an unbelievable thing. We think it'll help the candidate experience, the hiring manager experience, the recruiter experience that we're always focused on. But yeah, our goal here is to be the best technology partners we can and get our customers. It doesn't matter what we say, but if recruiters are using your software and they love it and they tell you, I love this, I'm obsessed with it, and they refer it to others, that's kind of what excites us.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure those that are your customers and those that are going to be signing up are excited about the new version, and that's cool. That's I appreciate the honesty about the company growth. It's a hell of a problem to have, but obviously it impacts people in your organization and outside of it. And yeah, that's amazing to be able to hire 48%. Doesn't matter if you have recruiters or not. That's still just such a big testament to the growth that you guys are having.
Yeah, it was all hands on deck. But yeah, we're grateful we're able to found some unbelievable people. I think we got lucky and fortunate with the team. It's so fun to see the team members. But yeah, there's lots of exciting stuff happening. We didn't even talk about the AI piece and all that, but there's just so many cool things. So one thing with our customer partners is we want to take this journey. We talk about the journey a lot too, internally and externally. Right. We're different, obviously, than every other company, and we embrace that. We don't want to just be an option. We want to be the innovator. We want to be the leader. We move fast. We're obsessed with that. And companies and people and humans, especially now in society, things are changing so quick. If you are comfortable and you're not willing to be uncomfortable all the time, you're going to get bypassed by people who are willing to. To grow, you have to be on the edge of being uncomfortable. And
absolutely.
We embrace that. We're not perfect. We never will be, but we hope our customers, help us and support us and don't just bash us, because we're working as hard as we can with world-class people, but we need customers as part of that. And be excited about what we're trying to do, because we're all in the same thing together.
Yep.
You have LinkedIn, or you have to have a company's or other options to help. So we're all in it together.
Love it. I dropped a link below to the Loxo website. For those of you that are listening, you guys can click the link. But Matt, how can people get in touch with you? What do you recommend for them if they're interested in setting up a demo?
Yeah. please go ahead and you can go to Loxo, loxo.co. Right on our website, there's a request live personalized demo. Our team's wonderful and can really understand how we can help. We're very consultative. There's a big button there that says get account. There's a free account. We believe proof is in the pudding. Kick the tires. Those are two of the best ways. And feel free to contact me. I'm passionate about this community and love everyone I've ever met and get to be in this space. Well, almost everyone, but we love being in this. So please feel free to connect me on LinkedIn, and that's probably the best place.
Awesome. One last question came in, was from Scott, and he said, when do you anticipate this upgrade to occur? Would it change much for the client's workflow?
Yeah. So that's stuff we're planning a lot right now. A lot of updates. What you call it in software is continuous integration. So people are nervous about this. Old school software, is waterfall methodology. So you create a version and you do like version 1.2 and 1.5, and then a big version is 2.0. So you'd roll that sucker out and your team's planning it for 5 years. The market, that's too slow. World-class companies now execute what's called continuous integration. You release frequently, all day, every day, in different servers and all that. But the new ones, people won't even notice. Some of the new updates you will, the big ones. So our team, we've gotten a lot better and polished about it. They'll prep our customer base. They provide FAQs. We have a full-time trainer. Not perfect, but we do everything we can to get ahead and say, hey, we're all in this, check it out. And everyone's usually like, oh my God, the interface changed. This is awesome. And if you need help, people can drop in to do webinars or our team will help. It's not coming out for a few more weeks, but when that does, that'll be a monster release, like a really, really good one. I can't even sleep. I'm so excited by it, to be honest.
Awesome. Good stuff. Matt, thank you for joining me today. For those of you that are interested in booking a demo, go ahead and click the link in the comments below the chat here. If you enjoyed having Matt on the show as much as I did, give us a little like and some love in the comments there. Next Friday, I'll be joined by Henna Pryor. We're going to be talking about some messaging strategies. So for those of you that sign up for Loxo between now and then, we'll have some good messaging for you to be able to dump into the system for your clients and your candidates. So thank you everybody for your time joining us live today. Matt, thank you so much for your time and the value you brought to the show today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Donnie. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. And I don't love talking about myself, but it's nice to share our story and the opportunity with your community that you brought together. And I'm excited taking the journey with you, but thank you everyone for tuning in. And please feel free to reach out however you can if we can be helpful.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody else. You guys have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
All right.